David Bronstein made up this game for his book in order to illustrate what is a good attack and bad defense. He also wrote that this game symbolizes the victory of the spirit over materia, as white, who was attacking, sacrificed a lot of pieces in order to develop as fast as possible and to attack black king as fast as possible, while black accepted all the sacrifices, absolutely neglecting the development. So let's see how this game went. So of course the best opening in order to illustrate the good attack is King's Gambit. So e4, e5, f4, e takes f. So now if it was black's turn, black would have checked on h4 and white would have either be forced to play king e2, losing the castles, right to castle, or played even worse probably, g3, and after f takes g, the king side would have been completely demolished. That's why white usually plays here knight f3, taking under control the h4 square. So g5, at first sight the idea is to defend the f4 pawn, however this pawn has another intention, more dangerous one, to play g4 and after knight retreats to play queen h4 check. However, using the fact that white neglects the main opening principle, which is the fastest development of pieces, so instead of developing pieces, black played with a pawn, white decides to start a very energetic play, so bishop c4. As you see, now white has already developed two pieces, while black hasn't developed any piece, and instead of developing, black played g4. Again, the next move with a pawn. So now, if the knight retreats, again, this queen h4 will come. So what can white do? What energetic move white can make in order to develop as fast as possible? So I offer you to pause the video and try to find this move. So the move is castles. Now another piece, rook, comes into the game, and f7 square is usually crucial in King's Gambit, so this rook will play a very active role in the attack on f-file. Besides that, white king is now safe, unlike black king, and e-file also is free now for rooks as the king moved away from it. So black accepts the first sacrifice, the knight. However, as you see, all black pieces are on their initial places. And now, what to do? If white now makes the most natural move, queen takes f3, that would be too slow, because black will gradually develop the pieces and defend. Queen f6, defending the pawn. Of course, it's very bad now for white to take on f4, because it will lead to exchange of queens, and the attacking side should always keep the queens on board. So white, the most active move for white in this position is e5. Queen takes e5, so the idea is to open the idea of e5 move was to open the e-file with tempo. Now white can play d3, threatening to take with a bishop this time. That's why bishop h6, defending. Again, f4 pawn is untouchable because it will lead to queen exchange. Knight c3, developing the knight. Knight e7. As you see already, two white pieces are developed. Bishop d2, preparing rook e1. Knight c6, the third black piece is developed, and queen f5. And as you see, black has an extra piece and more or less has defended its position, and there are no immediate threats, and black is more or less developed. So that's why in this position queen takes f3 is very slow. So I offer you to pause the video and find the next move, energetic move, which starts the very strong attack. So this move is the sacrifice of the bishop. So the second piece is sacrificed now. But the king is now very unsafe, and it's on the worst possible place on f file. After queen f3, as you see, the rook, the queen are all on f file, and the threat is queen takes f4. That's why queen f6. Again, queen f4 would be bad. So the moves, natural moves like knight c3 or d4 are too slow. So I offer you again to pause the video and find the energetic move. So this move is e5. e5 and after queen takes e5, now d4. The difference between playing d4 in this position and after e5 queen takes e5 is that now d4 comes with tempo. So this diagonal of this bishop is opened with tempo. And it's very important to open this diagonal because the key idea is to develop light pieces on queen side, the knight and bishop, so that the rook can also join the attack, either on e1 or f1 if this rook moves. So it's important to, in attack, it's always important that all pieces take part in the attack in order for attack to be successful. So queen takes d4, check. Black accepts all sacrifices in this game. And bishop e3. Of course, it would be a mistake to take the bishop, because after queen e3, black cannot take on e3 as this pawn is pinned. That's why, again, black is forced to play with a queen. As you see, black made all the moves with queen and king. And all the pieces are on their initial place. Knight c3. So, again, white needs to develop the knight as soon as possible. It can jump with tempo on d5, and also, which is very important, now the rook can join the game. So white sacrificed the third piece, because after f takes e, black loses its queen. Queen h5 check, and queen cannot move because it's pinned. So king g7, rook takes f6. So black loses the queen. However, black still has a great material advantage. If you count the pieces, you will see that for queen, black has 3 pieces and a rook. But all these extra pieces are very passive on their initial places and don't take part in the defense. Queen g5 check, king f7. And now, of course, the purpose of the sacrifice of the bishop on e3 was to make it possible for the rook to join the attack as soon as possible, and of course rook f1, pinning the knight and threatening to take on f6 with the queen. So bishop e7, defending it. Knight d5. As you see, all these 3 pieces, 3 attacking pieces are on their best, the most active, effective positions. And there is no way for black to defend f6, because white is attacking it 3 times, and there is only bishop defending it. So this knight on f6 is doomed. And black plays e2, threatening to take the rook with check. White takes with a rook, of course. Rook takes f6, because bishop f6 is losing immediately after queen takes f6. Black gets checkmated next move. If king goes to e8, then queen e7 move, and if king goes to g8, then knight e7 checkmate. That's why in this position, after rook takes f6, black played king e8. And at first sight, black has solved the problems, and white doesn't have any active plan, any continuation of the attack, because uh, uh, black is threatening to promote to queen with check. Besides that, the rook is pinned. If it moves, white will lose the queen. So at first sight, white is losing. However, it's not the case, of course. And with the next move, it's a brilliant move. David Bronstein writes in his book that once one sees this move in childhood, one can fall in love with chess for the rest of one's life. And it's really the case, because this move is very beautiful from aesthetical point of view, and it's also multi-functional move. It has multi-purposes. On the one hand, it stops the pawn, e2 pawn, from promoting, and on the other hand, it has attacking purpose. It creates the threats, the threat of unavoidable checkmate. So I offer you to pause the video one last time and find this beautiful move. So this move is rook e6. This rook, on the one hand, it opens the diagonal for queen. On the other hand, it pins the bishop, so the bishop cannot take the queen. It creates, it takes part in the attack itself, because now white is attacking e7 3 times. And also, very important, this move has a defensive function. It takes under control the e2 pawn. And there is nothing black can do in this position. So after d takes e, queen takes e7, checkmate. So this game symbolizes the victory of spirit over materia, as all white pieces, as you see, all white pieces took part in the attack, while the black pieces haven't even moved, most of them.